My wife had been living a double life for years. She had another family in a different city, and I had no idea. The day I found out, everything changed. I used to believe my life was perfect. Mia and I had everything most people dream of: love, stability, and shared dreams of the future. Our story was the kind of story that people looked at with envy. We met in college, where I was just a quiet guy who liked to keep to himself, and she was the outgoing, confident woman who lit up every room she entered. We clicked instantly. Something about her drew me in, and it felt natural, like I had finally found the person who understood me. When we graduated, we moved into a small apartment in the city. We both had good jobs, and it felt like we were building something. Every morning, we'd have coffee together, plan out our day, and talk about the future: children, vacations, and maybe buying a house someday. Life felt good, like it was all falling into place. But somewhere along the way, things started to feel off. At first, it was subtle. Mia started staying late at work more often. When she came home, she seemed distracted, like she had something on her mind that she didn't want to share. Her phone became more of a mystery, always face down when she wasn't using it, constantly buzzing with messages, and when I'd ask her about them, she'd brush it off as nothing. I told myself I was just being paranoid, that she was busy with her career, that things were fine. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. She started taking weekend trips more often, always giving me vague answers when I asked about them. Sometimes she'd say she had meetings or was working on a special project. The first few times, I thought nothing of it. But then the trips became more frequent, the phone calls more secretive, and the distance between us more palpable. The walls I thought we had built together seemed to be crumbling, but I still believed in her, until one fateful evening, when everything came crashing down. It was supposed to be a normal night. I had decided to surprise Mia by coming home early. I picked up her favorite bottle of wine, and I even planned to cook her favorite meal: spaghetti and garlic bread. I figured we could enjoy a quiet evening together, just the two of us, reconnecting. But when I walked through the door of our apartment, the sight that greeted me was far from what I expected. Mia was sitting on the couch with a man I didn't recognize. The two of them were laughing together, their bodies close, a comfortable familiarity between them that made my stomach drop. My heart began to race, and for a moment I stood frozen in the doorway, unable to move, unable to speak. My mind was in turmoil. What was going on? Who was this man? Why was Mia acting so comfortable with him? She noticed me standing there and immediately stood up, her eyes wide with shock, her face paling. The man quickly stood as well, looking just as uncomfortable as I felt. "You're early," Mia said, her voice shaky. It was a pathetic attempt to cover up whatever had been happening in front of me. I couldn't find my words. I could barely breathe. Everything felt like it was happening in slow motion, like the ground beneath me was shifting, and I was about to fall into some unknown abyss. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I forced myself to ask, "Who is he?" Mia looked at me, and for a brief second, I saw something I had never seen before, a mixture of guilt, fear, and regret. Then she whispered, "It's time you knew the truth, Alex." The man said nothing. He just stepped back, looking like he wanted to disappear into the walls. Mia took a deep breath and spoke again, but her voice was barely audible. "I never wanted you to find out this way. I have another life, Alex. I've had it for years now. This man, his name is Ethan. He's my husband." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I couldn't process what she was saying. "Your husband?" I asked, my voice thick with disbelief. But we've been together for 6 years, Mia. How could you? Mia closed her eyes, as if bracing herself for the pain of what she was about to say. It started before I met you. Ethan and I were high school sweethearts. We moved to a different city together after college, but our relationship, it wasn't perfect. It became complicated, but I couldn't bring myself to leave him. And when I met you, Alex, I didn't know what to do. I couldn't end things with Ethan, but I didn't want to let go of what we had. So, I kept both lives. I thought maybe I could have everything. I was selfish. I felt my legs give way beneath me as her words sank in. My entire world, everything I thought I knew, was slipping away. The woman I had loved, trusted, and built a life with had been living a secret life all along. I never meant to hurt you, Mia continued, her voice breaking. I thought I could keep both lives going without anyone getting hurt, but I was wrong. I love you, Alex. I really do. But I can't keep living this lie anymore. It's killing me. My heart was pounding in my chest and my head was spinning. The man, Ethan, stood quietly in the corner, watching the entire scene unfold. I looked at him and back at Mia, trying to comprehend how I could have been so blind, so completely unaware. I didn't know how much time passed, but I knew that I couldn't stay. I couldn't stay in a relationship built on lies, no matter how much I loved her. The betrayal was too much. I looked at Mia, my heart breaking, but I knew I had to walk away. I need to go, I said, my voice hoarse. I can't be here right now. Mia reached out, but I took a step back. Please, Alex, she pleaded, her voice barely above a whisper. Please don't leave like this. But I was already heading for the door. I can't do this anymore, Mia, I said, my voice trembling. You've broken my trust, and I don't know if I can ever get it back. I left that night, walking out of the apartment that had once been my home, not knowing where I was going. I needed space. I needed time to process the reality that had just shattered in front of me. My whole life had been a lie, and I had no idea who I was anymore. The days after I left were a blur. I stayed in a hotel, unable to return to the apartment, unable to face Mia. The betrayal was suffocating. I didn't know who to talk to or what to do with myself. Friends reached out, but I couldn't bring myself to speak. How could I explain to them what had happened? How could I even begin to put the pieces of my life back together? I started seeing a therapist, trying to work through the overwhelming emotions that were suffocating me. Slowly, I began to understand that while Mia's betrayal was deeply painful, it wasn't entirely her fault. I had ignored the signs, brushed off my own instincts, and in doing so, I had allowed myself to stay in the dark. As I processed everything, I realized I wasn't just angry at Mia. I was angry at myself for allowing this to happen. But over time, I began to heal. I focused on my work, reconnected with old friends, and started doing things I had neglected, like running, something that had always been my way of clearing my mind. I started to regain control of my life, piece by piece. One day, Mia called. She apologized again, begging me to reconsider, saying she had ended things with Ethan and was going to work on herself. But I knew that forgiveness wouldn't come easily. I knew that trust, once broken, couldn't be repaired overnight. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I had to take care of myself first. I needed to rebuild my own sense of worth before I could even think about rebuilding any kind of relationship with her. Months went by, and eventually Mia and I sat down to talk. She had changed. I could see that. She was genuinely remorseful, and she wanted to make things right. But as I listened to her, I realized something important. I didn't need to be with her to feel whole again. I had been so wrapped up in her life and her world that I had lost sight of who I was. I made the decision to move on. I chose to leave the past behind and start fresh. It wasn't easy. It never is when you've been betrayed. But I learned that sometimes walking away is the healthiest choice for both people. Mia had her own journey to take, and so did I. The years that followed weren't easy, but they were transformative. I became a person I didn't recognize at first, stronger, more self-aware, and more confident in who I was. I learned to trust myself again, and I learned that I didn't need anyone else's validation to feel worthy. Mia and I haven't spoken in years, but I don't hold on to the anger anymore. I've forgiven her, not for her sake, but for mine. I've learned to love myself again, and that's the most important lesson I could have learned through all of this. If you've ever gone through something similar, know that healing takes time. It's not easy, but it's possible to come out stronger on the other side. Take it one day at a time, and remember, you deserve honesty, love, and respect. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more like it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world to me, and I can't wait to share more stories with you. Until next time, take care of yourselves.